to maintain profit levels at the current gold price. It says there is a potential to create value in Colombia and it may consider the sale of some assets. When the split was announced, the company denied that it wanted to isolate its South African assets, which could be viewed as riskier due to labour conditions and power shortages. AngloGold said it was about unlocking value. Well, Venkata Krishnan was asked today if a future split is now off the table.
You never say never. That's one thing I've learned in life, going back over a decade. You never say never because it comes back to haunt you. But at the same time, our focus right now is getting the best out of our existing business in terms of levers which is within our control.
Well, for a little more now, on the line from Port Elizabeth is Sipho Pityana, the chair of AngloGold Ashanti. Thank you for joining us once again, Mr. Pityana. Last week we spoke and you were expanding on the benefits of this restructuring. A lot of the planning had been done. Are you very disappointed?
Francis, thank you very much to you and your listeners. As Venkat has made clear in his statement, when we released our announcement last week, we indicated that this would be a process of consultation with our shareholders, and in that consultation, we received mixed feedback. Generally, the sentiment was positive with regard to the restructuring, but of course, the feeling was that the capital ask was too large, given the environment in the gold market. I do want to correct, though, Francis, the point you're making that we were asked by the Reserve Bank to raise the $2.1 billion. In fact, that was not the request from the Reserve Bank. That was the strategy that was decided by management and the board of the company, given the what we wanted to achieve with the restructure and the readjustment of our balance sheet to enable us to pursue the opportunities that we think are possible.
I understand that we were reflecting that the Reserve Bank said that if this was to go ahead, then the South African company, I understand, was to remain debt-free. So you're asking for $2.1 billion, and investors weren't willing to pay that. Is this a possible sign of a lack of faith in gold mining because of all the struggles, the challenges that you face, a lack of faith perhaps in your company?
Investors are reading positively the kinds of things that we've done in the past 18 months when the gold price started to come down. We readjusted and we rebased our cost structure, and we effected a number of cost-saving measures in a whole range of areas to ensure that we survive from a reduction in the gold price that come down from about 30% over a period. So the view is that having done this in that period, possibly you're not under so much pressure that you need to go out to the market and raise capital at this stage. That's a debatable point. There are mixed views even amongst investors in that regard, and we'll continue to engage them. Indeed, they're correct. There is some headroom, but you don't want to hit a crisis point before you go to the market and raise requisite capital to ensure that you sustain the business in difficult conditions.
Mr. Pityana,
we explained in great detail.
Final question. Sorry, Mr. Pityana, we're running out of time. So final question. You were saying last week that this would allow the company to extend well beyond gold and become much more diversified. Is that no longer going to happen?
Well, we will not diversify into non-gold areas except for the byproducts. As you know, we are the largest uranium producer in the country. We produce silver in a number of areas. We'll continue with those, but we will not diversify in the way that we proposed with the restructure.
All right. Thank you, sir, for all your clarification tonight. Sipho Pityana from AngloGold Ashanti. Well, AngloGold did jump on the market today on that news, but the best performer was South African breweries. Now, investors said cheers to reports that the biggest brewer in the world, Anheuser-Busch, wants to buy SABMiller. SAB, in turn, wants to take over Heineken, although the company said that the controlling family rather wants to preserve Heineken's independence. SABMiller's shares leapt up after a technical glitch on the JSE delayed trade. That's despite a report out later this afternoon that's now suggests Anheuser is denying any talks or financing for a deal are taking place. Well, it's all very confusing. Let's take a look at your main financial indicators. The all-share index up by a fifth of 8%. SAB shot up by nearly 10%. That led industrials higher, even though the retailers and the telecoms were in the red today. Telkom down by 4.5%. The banks also closing lower, with First Rand losing more than 1.5%. The gold miners were strong performers. At one stage, AngloGold was up by more than 7%, but it ended 1.75% higher. Goldfields rose even more, but Harmony down by more than 2%. The price of gold itself has risen by about 0.5%, currently at $1,235 an ounce. Brent crude is flattish despite disappointing Chinese data, which has caused some concern about supply. And the rand started falling last week due to our export woes, still languishing just off 11 rand to the dollar at the moment.